Freestyle Travel. Hey everybody, this is the Freestyle Travel Show, and I'm your host, Kenny Flannery, recording from Madrid. This episode is going to be about the HitchFest 2017, which I just went to. It was pretty freaking awesome. But as always, I'd like to catch you up on all my travels, and that is a big chunk of it this time. The last episode left you off in Switzerland. I recorded that one from Trusterud's host place. I met him briefly and then he left, and I kind of had his place to myself for the night, which is kind of nice. Found out how crazy expensive Switzerland is. He left me with some pasta and stuff to cook up, and I went to go to town to grab a beer and some other stuff, and I was going to get some meat and stuff for that pasta. It was crazy expensive, so I had a more simple meal. But anyways, next day I woke up, got showered and all that, and started hitching towards Portugal. Went pretty well. A couple rides got me into Zurich. Had to kind of walk out of Zurich a little bit. But then got, a lot of rides that day, maybe 10 or something. Short rides, but eventually got my way into France and camped out at a truck stop. And I got some more rides the next day. And then some crazy travel magic happened. Actually, the next day I only got 2 rides. One was pretty far, pretty good. Got past a bunch of junctions. And then I got a ride from this guy, Pierre, which ended up being pretty awesome. He was going to Bordeaux. And I should say my plan was to meet someone in San Sebastian, a girl I met a couple years ago. We actually ended up going to the Hitch Gathering that year in France. Hitched together. So the plan was to meet her in San Sebastian, rendezvous there. She was coming up from Marseille. I got a ride from this guy going to Bordeaux a day before I was supposed to meet her. So he offered to let me stay for the night, and that turned into a whole freaking thing. It was cool. He had a lot of energy. I had a lot of energy because of that. And we just kind of kicked it in Bordeaux. Just a night of ecstasy, meeting friends, and running around. I did everything in that town except for drink the wine, which they're known for, but that's okay. It was pretty cool. Listened to a lot of good music and stuff, and just enjoyed it. And then the next day we were kind of hungover, but started getting right back on the bottle again. What was it, pastis we were drinking? And he offered to drive me to San Sebastian. It was like a 2-hour drive. But that just didn't happen that day. And it turns out the girl I was meeting, she got caught up with her own thing, so it sort of worked out. So I just spent a whole another day in Bordeaux kicking it with him. And then, we made the drive the next day. Ended up meeting up with her. Kicked it around San Sebastian, the 3 of us. And then we went and found a place to camp. Didn't do much camping. Didn't do any sleeping, really. Just kind of, all 3 of us just stayed up. Just kind of talking, kicking it, drinking. Sun came up. We'd actually set up a tent and stuff, but there's just no sleeping to be done. So he gave us a ride to the highway and took off. It was a pretty good adventure. Pretty fun. That's what I love about traveling. You just meet random people and end up having a really good time. Appropriate for this HitchFest episode. Good hitchhiking adventure. So as soon as we were on our own adventure, once he had left, me and the girl from France, we started, heading towards Portugal. Sort of a different dynamic than the last time we met, but sometimes I just torment myself to see if I can expand my dynamic range as a human. That'll be the excuse. Oh man, crazy times, but anyways, we took us several days actually. So we had a really slow day that first day, getting rides, but a lot of waiting. We ended up getting dropped off at a really desolate place by the time the sun went down, and there was sort of a hotel bar thing, so we went in there to think about what we were going to do, probably just camp. And right when we had finally both used the bathroom and ready to go, the waitress's boyfriend offered us a ride to the next kind of town, a little busier spot. So we camped there. In the morning, it was a little bit easier to get a ride, and we started hitching from there. Again, that day started off pretty good, but then we kind of took a wrong turn, got off the main highway, and then it was really slow going on the lesser roads, I guess. So yeah, that took a full day of just going. We ended up in some small town by the end of the night and met some firemen who let us camp right outside the fire station. So we did that, just set up the tent. And then, the next day we waited. And yeah, finally, technically the HitchFest had started the day before. But we ended up getting there. We got a long ride and then a couple short ones. And yeah, then we arrived at HitchFest. And that's what this episode is about. So yeah, kind of different than most episodes. It's going to be about my current travels. So let's jump into that. HitchFest 2017. So we arrived at the HitchFest. Got there. I had a presentation. The way I found out about HitchFest is one of the organizers, I guess, or both of them, or a couple of them, I don't know how many people organized it all together, got in touch with me, asked if I could do some kind of presentation on something, and ended up being ultralight travel, or as they called it, extended light travel, I guess was the name of it. Whatever, it was about packing light. So I got there, figured all that out. And what HitchFest was supposed to be, there's also the Hitch Gathering, which has been going on for about 10 years. That's when hitchhikers just kind of meet up somewhere in Europe. It's all over the world, but the European gathering is the big one. And there's no true organization to it. I guess people just kind of do it on the fly. There's no organizers, so to speak. Everybody just does their own thing. But the HitchFest was a lot more organized. There's vendors, there's music, there's workshops, there's presentations like mine, and people who are ready to do their thing. So we got there, and there's, a little bit of infrastructure to it. Kind of cool. So yeah, I just want to go through like all the different things that I experienced there. My little sliver of that experience. So we got there. Like I said, I worked out how I was going to give my presentation. I only got there a couple hours before I was slotted to do that. Set up the tent in the camping area. And then the first thing I did was there was a workshop on boat hitchhiking. Really, really cool, actually. This guy talked about his first experience sort of hitching a ride on a boat, showed a little video. But then the whole group of us that had gone to check it out, I should say, I don't know how many people were at the whole gathering, maybe a couple hundred, but all these little workshops, some of them overlapped. Some people didn't really care to go to many, and they all had between like a few people to maybe 20, 30, 40 people at each one of these little talks and workshops, and there's also music and stuff, get into all of it. But yeah, talked about boat hitchhiking and going to the docks and posting on corkboard, talking to people, getting to know people by the marinas and things, and just sort of the process of landing a ride with a boat and what can kind of be expected. It was pretty cool because it's something I've wanted to do, I've kind of tried to do. So that was a really good first little workshop at the gathering. Shortly after that, in a dome kind of thing, there's sort of two main workshop-y presentation areas. One was the sort of projection tent where he had that one, and then so people did some PowerPoints and stuff. And then there was a dome where it was kind of just more chill, I guess, less going on. That's where I gave mine. And yeah, people just started filtering in as I started. I just grabbed my backpack and put it there and gave a little introduction as to who I was, and just started unpacking my backpack and talking about all my gear and how to save weight and sort of the philosophy behind that. Anyone who's been listening to this show knows I did a whole episode just on ultralight packing, so it's essentially that, but a little bit more visual, I guess. And towards the end, it was really cool because people were chiming in, and they're like, "How have you tried doing this and that?" And I only carry this, or why do you carry that? Just running ideas by each other. And then when it finally ended, there's a group of maybe 4 or 5 of us. We just started walking around, and one Swiss girl showed off her hammock, which was pretty cool. It had a built-in mosquito net and some poles and stuff, and could kind of be used as a tent. And some other people had some smaller tents, and I was just getting a lot of good ideas, talking to all these people. One guy had just like a 20-liter backpack, and he was showing me some of his gear, and he wasn't really set up for like year-round, all-season kind of things, but he had a lot of good little ideas I was checking out. So that was kind of fun. yeah, so that was kind of the first day getting into it. As part of the gathering, they're cooking 2 big meals every day. There are also stalls for food, and obviously you could hitch in town and get your own food, which we did the second day. That was kind of cool. Since I presented, I got a couple tickets or whatever, so I got a couple free meals, which was good. Pretty good meals. And yeah, I spent that whole day. We just kind of accidentally camped next to a bunch of people who had gone to the 2015 gathering, and that was, just totally by chance. So I spent sort of that whole first night just talking to all these people that I'd sort of barely met, if at all, the last time, but we were all at the same gathering. So it was pretty cool, just drinking wine, sharing hitchhiking stories and philosophies, sort of. Yeah, really enjoyed it. That's kind of what the whole thing is about. That's what all the hitch gatherings are about, in a way, just sharing your stories and knowing that there's other people out there going through they're going through the same stuff that you are, hitchhiking wise, because you can meet your friends or you can meet couch surfing hosts, and not everyone's hitchhiked, so there's little subtle things. It's kind of fun to be in a big group of people that all understand, like, right away, like, oh yeah, of course that's how that works. So that was, yeah, really, really enjoyable. The next day and throughout the following days, there are more workshops. Let's kind of talk about the ones I went to. One guy I met the first day, he gave a conscious community workshop, just talking about the idea of big group of people sort of starting like a commune kind of thing, but really being in touch and honest with each other, and just being more intentional about it, just setting up a community that's a little more sustainable. If this sounds kind of hippie, I think it definitely is, but it's okay. That's kind of part of the vibe at the hitch gathering, but there's a lot of vibes at it. That's what made it kind of cool. So yeah, that was one thing. There was all kinds of workshops. There was one about making soap. One guy from sort of the hitch gathering crew, he showed a bunch of people how to make pinhole cameras. Actually, that same guy, he gave a talk, which I sort of missed, but talked to him afterwards, about nomad bases, which is kind of like people who, sort of like couch surfing hosts that host maybe a dozen or more people at a time. I've been to some of these nomad bases, and they're pretty cool. Usually you have to get in touch with people ahead of time, but sometimes if you just kind of know that it exists, you can sort of show up. So that was cool. Besides all these workshops and stuff, it was just, hitching into town once in a while to get some food, which was cool. And I keep saying which was cool. There's a lot of cool stuff, this HitchFest. Yeah, and then just walking up the hill for the sunset. We did that a couple nights. We hitched down into town and went swimming, like a group of, 6 or 7, 8, 9 of us, all piled into a car, actually. Went swimming for a day. And every night there was music, and during the day a little bit too. I didn't get into the music too much during the day, just because there's usually something else going on. But yeah, at night, when all the workshops and everything else ended, a lot of people just sort of gravitated to the dance floor. There's even like a little bar where you could buy some drinks. Personally, I just went into town and we got some wine and stuff, some beer a couple times. Yeah, and then just more of these like talks. Like some people just talked about just their travels in general, which is cool to hear. Just one of their big epic trips around the world. Some people trying to hitchhike as far as they could without taking planes, and just hearing their experiences, especially in countries in like the Middle East, which I haven't been to. Just hearing their experiences with visas and different customs and things was interesting for me anyway. One person was writing a poem every day and made a whole book about it. That was kind of cool. Someone was talking about adventure community, different than the conscious community. This was just more about like spontaneous communities, I guess she was calling it, that kind of pop up on the road, even if it was just 3 people hitchhiking together. Yeah, all kinds of stuff like that. And then like slack lines were set up and people were doing acrobatics or silks. Just a lot going on. So I really enjoyed it, and just all the different people I met. Some people who'd been traveling for years, some people who were traveling just during the summertime or spontaneously. Just some people just starting out, getting like really inspired. That was cool. I keep saying that was cool. It really was. So I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was 4 or 5 days, something like that, all together. And they gotta be doing it again next year, I'm gonna guess, because everything worked out really well. Just the vibes were really good, and it was set up so well. And some of the workshops overlapped and things, but you could just sort of bounce around as much as you wanted to, or not go to the workshops. There's like a chill out tent where you just hang. I guess that's HitchFest in a nutshell. Nothing nothing way too crazy, but just a lot of fun. And there's the whole Hitch Gathering crew. They're sort of heading towards the Hitch Gathering next. That was their thing, which I may still do. I'm not sure, because this year there's the HitchFest, and then Hitch Gathering is in Germany, which, like I said, is a little bit less organized. And then there's this sort of post-gathering in the Ukraine. So I'm sure some people are going to try to go to all three. That's HitchFest. I don't have too much more to say about it, really. I just wanted to get something out there about it, because if you're traveling in any capacity, it's a really great place to go. I'm sure it's going to be, like I said, next year, and you'll meet people of all sorts of traveling styles there. So, that's that. That is that. And, let me get into what's coming up next for me. Cool. Yeah, that was HitchFest. I know, like, the last episode, I sort of said I'd probably interview a ton of people, which I could have, but I don't know, there's so much going on, and it's always something to do. I really didn't want to interrupt the flow by pulling someone aside and doing some kind of interview. Might have been cool, but that was just the summary of it. So afterwards, I left with the same girl. We went to Porto, which is the big city about a half an hour away. Second biggest city in Portugal, next to Lisbon, I guess. So we went there, just checked it out. Didn't really plan too well as far as finding a host or anything. So we got there, we ate this freaking sandwich. It was so good. It translates to the little French girl, which is funny. I'm not even going to try to say the name of it, but it's like a bunch of meats with bread and egg and covered in like a beer sauce kind of thing. It's freaking good. We did that, and then we found a place to camp really easily, sort of away from everything. Pretty good spot, actually. And then, the next day, too, I still wasn't sure what I was going to do. She wasn't too sure what she was going to do. She's got another festival to go to in France, but I wasn't sure if she was going to hitchhike there, try to get a blah blah car. Blah blah car is like the Craigslist of Europe. It's just a ride-sharing thing, or a bus, or she wasn't sure. So we hung out for another day, kicking around, finding some more good food, checking things out, checking the city out a little bit more. Pretty cool city, actually. Good views from the bridges and along the river. Porto's pretty cool. Did that, just relaxed a little bit. Camped out in the same exact spot again. And then the next day, kicked it a little bit more. Went to the bakery. We got this duck rice stuff. Found a couple good beers. For me, anyways. She doesn't drink beer. Sad to say. And finally I was just like, I gotta get the hell out of here. I was kind of driving myself crazy with the whole situation, and just was ready to go. And didn't have any other place to stay in Porto, and I got to start making my way towards the Netherlands and whatnot to see a good friend before my visa's up in Europe. So we parted ways finally. Good and bad. as always. As always, I don't know, good and bad this time. And walked to the highway. She had already arranged somewhere to stay for that night. And yeah, I wasn't sure exactly where I'd go. So I just walked to the highway, and I figured I kind of had someone I could stay with in Madrid. And yeah, I just hit the highway and decided to see what's going to happen. So it took a while to get out of Porto, but a couple rides got me out. And finally, I got picked up by a truck driver who was going to Madrid. And even after he said that, I still didn't know, am I going to go all the way to Madrid, or am I going to pop out in this little junction town and just like kind of try to gun it to France? And yeah, he was going super slow, this truck driver. Real slow up the hills and everything, so I had plenty of time to think about it. And the way it shook out is, just decided to go all the way to Madrid with him. We arrived super late, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I was just kind of sleeping along the way. He bought a huge meal for us. It was awesome. Just ate some sheep. Yeah, that was so good. Random. And ended up just sleeping in the truck there, and went to like a recycling plant. He had to make a delivery, and then dropped me off on the ring road this morning, actually. I caught another ride into the center, poked around, met up with a couch surfing host here, which is where I am right now. And, we kicked it, had some food, checked out Madrid. Madrid's okay. It's a big city. There's, a lot to see, but it's a European city. If you've been to one, you've been to this one, probably, so to speak. And yeah, that's about it. I've taken the time to record this episode, and tomorrow I will continue on. To where? I don't know. Well, kind of. I'm gonna head up towards France. I really don't know at what rate I will get up there. But ultimately, I'm aiming for the Netherlands, so maybe that's where my next episode will be recorded, up in the Netherlands with my buddy Walter. Maybe he'll do an episode. We'll see. I'm really looking forward to seeing him. But there's a lot of road between here and there, so might end up at the Hitch gathering. Oh, good times await, as always. So yeah, I guess this is going to be a shorter episode, but I'm not even sure when I'm going to get it uploaded. That's it, guys. That's it. You know how to contact me every time. Freestyle Travel Show all over the social media. Hobo Lifestyle all over social media. FreestyleTravelShow@gmail.com. That's about it, guys. I'm looking forward to the next episode. Get back to sort of the normalish routine. Cool. I will see you down the road. With all my shit straight, I'll get my big brain.